During the recent development stream, we got an interesting update to the node system, which was already interesting as it stood. So now on top of a dynamic world shaped around what nodes are leveled up and where, that will now be further flavored by the new node policies and the Vassal system. Both of these got some of the spotlight this past stream, and I'm going to highlight them a bit more in this video today. Also, I am really big on discussions, so commenting on anything talked about today would be awesome. So we've had an idea for a while that if a node gets to the Metropolis level, which is stage 6, it will control or lock out adjacent nodes from progressing to the same point. This is a big part of what makes every server different from one another. They're just simply all going to develop in their own way. But with the Vassal system, we actually see how this control breaks down a bit more. Let's say you are in charge of the highest level node in a certain area. You are the parent of the lower level nodes around you. You collect a portion of their earnings for taxes, but not necessarily fully control them as far as their upgrade and defense decisions are concerned. I believe how many taxes that are collected is up to the head honcho of the bigger node, which we all know there are good and bad leaders there. This will obviously serve as some future drama potentially, but by the way, these vassal networks can actually extend across seas and even include whole islands, which is pretty sweet. So, how many nodes can you control? Well, a metropolis can control up to 2 city nodes. A city can control 1 town and 1 village. A village can control an encampment or an expedition. Now, if that village, the stage 3 node, gets destroyed through a siege, its vassals under it will also be destroyed. Any of a node's vassals must also be at least a level below its parent. Nodes can start to be attacked and destroyed starting at stage 3, the village level. And again, as for being destroyed, if that happens, it goes back down to level 0. So to say that last bit again, if a node is attacked and destroyed, that node and all of its vassals will go back down to level 0, the wilderness level. This means you pretty much lose most of your things, or at least a portion of what you had in storage, I think is what Steven had said at one point. You don't necessarily lose everything, but this is actually kind of interesting if you think about it for a second. You are either very invested in the defense of a particular node, farm and quest in the region to shore up defenses and then show up to defend, or you skip town and use a caravan to move all your shit. Now, it was mentioned if war was declared on a node, you wouldn't be able to transfer loot out. This makes sense because it would kind of make attacking a lot less worth it if people can just move everything. You would reap no rewards as the attacker. But I would have to think there will be other ways to know it's coming. Obviously speculation, but it's what we got. So think about that. People know a siege is coming, and some start to leave in advance, likely transferring their goods. In this situation, you could play the part of a bandit lying in wait outside of the walls and leech off those poor souls trying to avoid bombardment. You can imagine that they might have some of their best stuff on them as well. It's a pretty good gamble for an attacker. Now, with this risk of losing all your stuff because daddy lost a fight does not come without its perks. Vassal nodes do gain benefits from their parent node, even if the node type of the parent is different to the vassal. By node type, I'm talking if it's a military, scientific, economic, or divine node. Those are the 4 different types of nodes in the game. Now, we don't know yet if a vassal gains every benefit that its parent has. It probably won't be. It's likely only certain ones. And then there are probably further perks for living in the big city, right? Like, it's just pros and cons, people. You might have a faster crafting speed in the big city, but you're gonna wait a while on that latte. Again, a portion of whatever a vassal makes goes up to its parent node as a tax. Also, kind of a cool side note, but any taxes earned cannot be used for anything except node development. No greedy mayor will be able to line their pockets with taxes. It all just goes back to the betterment of the city. Once it was announced nodes were going to contribute taxes, there was quite a bit of concern being voiced, but this mostly squashes that. But going back to the vassal nodes, it seems most of what's earned will still be under the control of the mayor of that vassal node. So again, besides taxes, vassals will also be subject to the government, alliances, wars, and trade agreements of their parent node. But with this, they are also able to receive federal aid from them. Now, this along with the node policies that I'll talk about in a bit is why I believe that not all of the benefits of the big node trickle down to the vassals. Now, this might go without saying, but a vassal cannot declare war on its parent or its vassals. And the diplomatic states of vassal nodes are bound to their parent nodes. So basically, that means like if a parent node or your metropolis declares war on somebody else, well, you're kind of along for that ride. That being said, there are still probably other ways to undermine any sort of situation that comes into play, any sort of war, even if you're, contributing. There's always the Benedict Arnolds of the world, and frankly, they do make things more interesting. The other system talked about was node policies. These are unlocked by completing different activities within a node that either increase or decrease the happiness state of the node. High levels of happiness will unlock more policies. Low levels of happiness might even disable certain NPCs or services within a node. These happiness levels, and by extension the node policies, can be positively affected by completing story arcs, world bosses, and completing the construction of a node's buildings. A node gaining citizens and somehow cultural influences can also affect the policies that you're able to choose. You can have negative outcomes to your happiness levels if you are losing citizens, or if some of your citizens' homes are foreclosed on. Seems pretty in-depth to me with just this, but it actually goes deeper still. The policies a node has will be picked by the mayor and then voted on by the citizens. And by the way, you can only have one citizenship per account. So unless you're willing to make a bunch of accounts and have a bunch of subscriptions, and to be honest, somebody probably will do this, your vote will generally hold the same weight as everyone else, as it should. These votes will usually be 24 hours or so, but can be as little as 1 hour, depending on if a mayor decides to use a certain mayoral power. But how often they can use that still remains to be seen, but we can certainly see where it adds complexity to the situation. Let's say you have an upcoming war and you need certain policies in place to help preparations for defenses. Pop that vote and get to work on it even faster. Or let's say the other end of the spectrum, you got a mayor that's a little extra shady and they want some selfish policies in place to, help them or their friends out. But they don't believe the citizens will really go for it, or most of the people really go for it, so they try to sneak it by using this method. The latter is obviously always risky, because if people don't like you, you're gone. Democracy. What could go wrong? Now, are all these systems making things a bit too complicated? Would you like more additions to the node system? Maybe less? Let me know what your thoughts are below, please. Also, make sure to subscribe and like and all that stuff if you feel like supporting me. It really does help a ton. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.